Ecowas Authority of Heads of State is not backing down on resolving the political crisis in the Niger Republic. This and other issues will be engaging our attention on this episode of Africa Weekly. I am Charles Alpha, welcoming you to the program. Now, the Ecowas Authority of States and Governments has demanded immediate release of President Mohamed Bazoum and the restoration of the constitutional order in the Republic of Niger. At an extraordinary session summoned by President Bola Tinubu in Abuja, the authority described the detention of President Bazoum as a hostage situation.
Another political instability and security breach is a week-old in Niger. A situation already claiming properties in jungle justice, even as some still nurse the fear for the looming day of reckoning in the hands of the unconstitutional masters. There is a desperate situation in a sister West African nation. A desperate measure is needed, and ECOWAS heads of states and governments are the immediate friends in need. The situation is a test of resolve of ECOWAS under a new leadership of President Tinubu that has promised zero tolerance for coup d'etat in the sub-region.
I want us to be strong, forceful, and resolute about the survival of Bazoum, as well as the freedom and restoration of the constitutionally elected body in the Niger Republic. But no more time for us to sign a warning signal. It's time for action, and we should walk our talks.
Beyond condemnation of the unconstitutional takeover of power and detention of a democratically elected president, ECOWAS says it is ready to wield the big stick on the military junta.
In the event the authorities' demands are not met within 1 week, take all measures necessary to restore constitutional order in the Republic of Niger. Such measures may include the use of force. To this effect, the chiefs of defense staff of ECOWAS are to meet immediately. In the meantime, the following measures are to be applied with immediate effect. 1. Closure of land and air borders between ECOWAS countries and Niger. 2. Institution of ECOWAS no-fly zone on all commercial flights to and from Niger. Suspension of all commercial and financial transactions between ECOWAS member states and Niger. Freeze all service transactions, including energy transactions. Freeze assets of the Republic of Niger in ECOWAS central banks. Freeze of assets of the Niger state and the state enterprises and parastatals in commercial banks. Suspension of Niger from all financial assistance and transactions with all financial institutions, particularly EBID and BOAD.
The military junta has a weak ultimatum to yield to the demands of a regional bloc or face thereof. Other international agencies, including United Nations and African Union, also align with the resolve of ECOWAS.
Former President of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, and the diplomatic corps in Nigeria have urged the African Union, AU, to strengthen all democratic structures to deter resurgence of the notion of military coup d'etat in Africa. The former president made the call during the 5th lecture series of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs organized by its Association of Foreign Relations Professionals of Nigeria.
The lecture, virtually joined by the former South African president, centered on the theme examining the nexus between foreign policy goals and democratic governance.
Africa has clear goals which are articulated through the African Union and the regional economic community.
Call upon our African leaders.
Speakers unanimously agreed on resilient approaches in addressing the root causes of every conflict on the continent, hence the need for policies to deter re-emergence of the notion of military coup d'etat in Africa.
That the politics and governance in their countries are inclusive and free as to promote peace and stability.
We should do much, much more. Because this is the time Nigeria needs a very strong foreign policy lead, not only of Ecowas, not only of Africa, but the world. And we have so many excellent professionals in this country that can advise the government on the way forward.
We have equally presented position papers to government on the issue of resurgence of military takeover of power in our sub-region. We have also participated in the process of resetting our foreign policy agenda to a smart format. And lastly, we recently submitted a paper to Ecowas Roundtable Conference on strategies for our participation in the regional body.
They tasked state governments to always employ expertise of foreign relations experts in sustaining democratic governance to accelerate development and ensure stability across the continent.
Now, the new government in Nigeria is taking steps to concretize the shape of the administration to deliver on its promises of robust economy for Africa's largest economy. Now, the first batch of nominees of cabinet members have now been released for confirmation by the country's parliament. A former presidential aspirant of the ruling party and a prominent youth development advocate, Dr. Nicholas Felix, is with us to analyze this development. All right, joining me now in the studio to talk more on the subject at hand is a former presidential aspirant of APC and a stalwart of that party, for that matter, Mr. Nicholas Felix. I want to say thank you very much for coming on Africa Weekly, Mr. Nicholas.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Okay, first of all, it's slightly over 2 months now that the present administration came on board, and if you were to assess the first few steps of the president, what would it be for you?
Once again, thank you for having me. Good to be here. I'll give the president a great pass mark. The president did promise that as soon as he is sworn in, he's going to hit the ground running. And I can say the president had not just hit the ground running. We can literally say it as he's flying, because so much policies within the past just few months, 2 months. Most administration, once they enter, you begin to count, a few policies here and there, a few achievements within the first 100 days. But in just 60 days, 63 days, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done so much. His administration is busy. There's practically any day that something is not happening. So I have to say, with this momentum, the president continue, in the next 1 or 2 years, I think Nigeria will begin to experience a new atmosphere. So the president is doing well, and we pray that God will strengthen him more to do exactly what he promised in his manifesto.
Now, some of those things he said he was going to do, re-echoed yesterday when he came, on national television across, the country to spell out his plans for the country. Now, if you take a look at the national broadcast, what stood out for you?
Yeah, first of all, is the passion at which the president spoke. You could see that he was pouring his heart out there to Nigerians, letting them know we are not here playing, we are not here joking. We know it's just 60 days, and because of the fuel subsidy removal, the fuel price has gone up. That seems to be the, what is trending now, and that seems to be what Nigerians are focusing on. He kind of pours his heart out to let Nigerians know that they should be patient, that they are not just working for nothing. In no distant time, we begin to experience the benefit of all the policies that he has been, putting in place. You must understand the fuel subsidy has been there for decades, and removing such, they say if you fight corruption, corruption will definitely fight back. And this is what we are experiencing, the reaction from the fuel subsidy removal. If the president remains consistent, like I know he will, I think things will get normalized. There will be balance as we go. So that broadcast to me was just for the president to assure Nigerians that they should be patient, that he's working things out. And as soon as the cabinet is instituted, I know more will be done, and Nigerians will begin to experience a new atmosphere.
Okay, now going forward, from all of this, now we saw, the number of ministerial ministers that were sent to the Senate and the screening that is ongoing right now. Would you say that the names of those on the list reflect what he actually wants to do? I mean, help him, push forward, his plans for Nigeria?
Yes. When you look at the, so far, there are 28 ministerial nominees. When you look at, I'll speak not just in person, but in terms of groups and categories. The president, first of all, promised that he was going to bring women on board. And now we see that we have 7 women, 25% of the list that was submitted, 7 women. And these are not just random women. These are women, if you check their party members, number one, their loyalty and hard work to the victory of the president, and their capacity. I know about 6 of these women. There are people who I know they are going to do well. Talk about Dr. Betta, talk about Uju, we talk about Honorable Iman. So all of these, Stella Oketete, these are people who are very capable in their own field. So in as much as the president is fulfilling his promise, bringing women on board, he didn't just bring every other kind of woman. He brought women who are capable, and we know they are going to perform well. On the other hand, of course, there are party members, party loyalties that are there. But look at somebody like Professor Ali Party. People talk so much about him that he has so much to bring on board. You look at somebody like Dele Aleke, who has been a loyalist to the president for so long. We're excited seeing him on the list. Somebody like Governor Mai, somebody I know very well. He did so much while he was governor of Ebonyi State. Most importantly also, I know one of the ones that is trending is the person of Governor Wike. I like Wike just because of the fact that he was very committed in carrying out projects in his state while he was governor. To the very last day, Wike was commissioning projects. If that's the only part, somebody like him being the Minister of Works, if that's the only part he brings to the table, I think he worked it. I would trust him in that department. So in terms of the president fulfilling his promise, bringing women in his cabinet, he has done that. In terms of government of national unity, which he promised, that's why you have somebody like Wike there, he has done that. And also in terms of bringing youth on board, that's the only part I'm advocating more for. Yeah. Because as of today, we have just one youth, Olatunji, 41 years old. We thank the president for that, but we need more, and I'm hoping that the next list that is coming out, we have a lot of youth there. At least I'm saying 6, 7, or 8 youth will be among the 13 names that are coming out. Other than that, I think the president made a great choice in picking his cabinet. We just want more youth on the table because that's the last promise, the last thing he promised as members of the cabinet that should be fulfilled. And I have so much confidence that he's going to do as the list comes out.
Okay, Mr. Nicholas Felix, just so that you don't get your expectation dashed in a way, should the list comes out and the number of youths you are expecting to be on that list, does not, meet your expectation. Now, it is one thing to want them to be in the cadre of the minister and all of that, but in what areas should this list come out and your expectation is not met? What will you be recommending? What other areas do you think that the youths can get involved, even though it mustn't be, when you are a minister before you can make an impact in this administration. So what would you say?
Yeah, first of all, I'll be very, very surprised if at the end of the day we have just one youth. It will be my greatest surprise in my few years in politics because of the hope that we, and the belief, the trust, the faith we have in Mr. President. So that's why everything in me tells me that we're going to have just more than one youth there. But on the other hand, there are other areas, of course, youth are going to function. You have other, agencies, board members, chairs, and the rest of that. Of course, we're advocating for more of that. But the reason why we're saying so much about, the cabinet formation, it has to start from here. Remember, ministers are going to be sitting with the president, making decisions. So this is very crucial. This is very key. If we don't get much here, then how do we believe that we are going to be represented in other agencies as we go? So, like I said, we have so much faith in Mr. President. Recently the youth went to see Mr. President. I pay very close attention to little things. After Dayo Israel spoke, the national youth leader of APC, he spoke very well. The president was clapping. I mean, the manner at which he was clapping, I don't think I've seen the president clap like that before. So when I saw that, I said, this is exactly what we're talking about. We have a president who is youth-friendly. We have a president who is our father, who cheers the youth up, who wants to carry the youth along. So that's why I do not expect anything less or just having one youth in the cabinet.
All right, now on the lighter ground, before I let you go, you recently carried out a free distribution of fuel to motorists in those states. What informed this gesture before we let you go?
Yes, this is something I've been doing. If you go online and just type free gas giveaway, you'll see we're all over in the news in America. I started it in 2015, so I do it every year, July 2015, 2016, 17, 18, 19. 2020 and 21 was the only year we didn't do it because of the pandemic. And even here in Nigeria, I did it also in Ibadan. I did it several times in Benin. So, but this time around, I felt everybody's talking about FOIA. Our president came with a renewed hope mandate. And I thought, why not go to my state, the 3 senatorial districts, to do the same, just to cause people to smile and just to let them know hope has come. We know that things may be a little bit difficult, but we know things are going to change. So that's why we decided to go to, we couldn't do it in all the states. A lot of people have been calling, have been receiving calls to come to these states, but unfortunately, we could only do Edo State for now. Hopefully, as time goes on, we hope that one day we'll be able to reach the entire nation with the same gesture.
So could we say that's your palliative, to the people in this time that we are right now?
Yes, that's our little palliative. As a matter of fact, our intention was to gear it towards the youth. Okay. But I know it was going to be somehow, if on that day we only announced that we are giving free fuel to the youth, we might end up getting a lot of backlash from the women. So we decided to just leave it open. But the intention, first of all, for me, because the reason why I'm here, the reason why I'm in politics, one of the reasons rather, is to get young men and young women on board in youth. And that's why every interview I go, everywhere I speak about advocating for the youth, because we suffer most. Who are those jackbarring? Who are those leaving the country in large numbers? They are the youth. So the first initial, what we wanted to do was to give just to the youth, but we felt on that day it may be difficult to control. And how do we even know those who are youth? Somebody 50 years may come and say he's a youth. We may end up having more issues in our hands. Hence why we left it open to everybody.
All right. Dr. Nicholas Felix wants to say thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
All right. Thank you so much. Of the 33 countries that signed the AU Protocol on Free Movement of Persons, only 4 have ratified it, thus making it difficult to scale up trade on the continent. AU Commissioner in charge of Health, Humanitarian Affairs and Social Development, Ambassador
In January 2018, the African Union agreed to establish the African Continental Free Trade Area to ensure free flow of goods and services within the continent. Simultaneously, the AU adopted a protocol supporting the free movement of persons between the countries of Africa. Both are considered necessary for the successful social and economic development of countries on the continent. As of January 2021, 54 countries had signed the AFCFTA and 35 countries had fully ratified, whereas 33 countries had signed the Free Movement of Persons Protocol and only 4 countries had fully ratified. They are Rwanda, Niger, Mali, and Sao Tome and Principe. AU Commissioner in charge of Health, Humanitarian Affairs and Social Development, Ambassador Minata Samti Susuma, is in Ghana to push for the ratification of the AU Protocol on Free Movement.
We need omelette, but we don't have to broke eggs. It's not possible. We need free trade. We don't need free movement. That's why we are here. Ghana signed this protocol on free movement, and we would like Ghana to show, as usual, the leadership of Ghana, the importance of Ghana, what Ghana is doing, and also Ghana is important because Ghana has the Secretariat General of CFTA. How our country, Ghana, can be a leader to ratify this protocol.
She acknowledged that issues like terrorism have been cited as some of the challenges that need to be addressed before the free movement of persons can be fully implemented.
Ghana is going to host African Games next year, 2024. And I'm leading this technical committee. I'm here also to say, yes, Ghana, we thank Ghana for accepting to host these games. It is very important to have our youth. Africa is a very young continent with youth, young people, and sport contribute for peace, security, and development.
At the end of the deliberations in Accra, there was a consensus that Ghana will soon join the train of ratifying the protocol on free movement of persons to ensure that the Africa we want the Agenda 2063 is achieved.
And that's our package this week on Africa Weekly. Thanks for watching. I am Charles Alpha. Bye-bye.